This is the World Organic News podcast for the week ending 5th of September 2016. John Moore reporting. As many of you will know by now, I'm an advocate of the no-dig, no-till production method. So it is with some trepidation I bring you a post from Beech Cove Farm, The Hustle, Double Digging. To be fair, Beech Cove Farm is predominantly a no-dig, no-till setup. That being said, they chose to double dig the veggie patch this once. From now on, they will be no-dig. The argument put forward is that the time savings that occur with the double dig start to the garden more than outweigh the delay in production from no-dig methods. I would question this, but that was not my choice, it was theirs. We can see with a little thought that this process, and it is a huge amount of work, does release all those nutrients held in the fungal communities under the sod. By then moving to no-dig, the communities can re-establish themselves. This post is well worth a read, link in the show notes. As I've said before, waste is simply something in the wrong place. So the post from sustainableplanetblog, Make Dirt Not Waste, a guide for easy composting and why you should do it, explains how to move the waste from where it is out of place to where it can continue the cycling of nutrients and matter through the ecosystem. It is a matter of using entropy to disaggregate the waste into forms of greater value to both ourselves and the soil. The post points out that composting is an aerobic process. That is, it occurs in the presence of oxygen. Landfills, by their nature, bury the organic matter, forcing an anaerobic decomposition. And anaerobic decomposition creates methane as a byproduct. And methane as a greenhouse gas is CO2 on steroids. There are specifically designed biodigesters which harness this process to capture the methane, which is then used for cooking, heating, power generation and so on. Most landfills are not of this type of anaerobic digestion. The methane simply escapes and adds to the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and oceans. So by composting our organic waste, we take small steps to reduce the increase in said gases. Many small steps combined lead to world-changing movements, and it is well past the time we all got on board with this particular vessel. An article in the Courier out of Dundee in Scotland makes the argument for organic food, both from an environmental standpoint and from a consumer demand point of view, with the title, Going Organic Won't Cost the Earth. Quite the contrary, I suggest. It will maintain it as a habitable place for human. Have a read, see what you think. Now for our next article, I quote from What Would It Take to Mainstream Alternative Agriculture, a post from the blog Alternet. Quote, The industrialised food system, studies have shown, is linked to greenhouse gas emissions, algal blooms, pesticide pollution, soil erosion and biodiversity loss, to name a few ecological troubles. End quote. While individual farmers are aware of this, change is not happening rapidly, as the piece then explains. Quote, Growing awareness and those heightened expectations haven't led to alternative agricultural systems becoming the norm in the US. Organic has made some headway, but many organic growers have been forced to imitate industrial farms, grow bigger, resort to monocultures instead of truly diversified fields, and sell to large supermarkets, foregoing many of the benefits alternative agricultural systems offer, such as natural pest control, pollination from native bees, and a smaller production scale conducive to family farmers and local food economies. End quote. This gives you a feel for the flavour of the piece. It is reasonably long, but worth taking the time to read. I have, of course, included a link in the show notes. And it is not just the US where such agroecological methods have been slow to take root. Somewhere between 2 and 3% of Irish agriculture is certified organic. So explains the Independent in an article entitled Organic Growth. So while things are not good at the moment, there is enormous potential for growth. Coupled with the Brexit vote and the possible loss of a major market for Irish agriculture, conversion to organic certification is a safety net for prices, as well as a win for the environment. Given Ireland's relative abundance of water and its fair to excellent soils, this should be a no-brainer. I might also note here that Ireland has a small but vigorous permaculture movement, so all is not as bad as depicted in the article. And that brings us to the end of this week's podcast. If you've liked what you've heard, please tell everyone you know any way you can. I'd also really appreciate a review on iTunes. This helps others to find us. Thanks in advance. Any suggestions, feedback or criticism of the podcast or blog are most welcome. Email me at podcast@worldorganicnews.com. Thank you for listening. I'll be back in a week.